Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today's fun fold is called a circle flip fun fold. It has this nice folding mechanism in the front and a circle that flips it open. So this card is using a stamp set that I think is a sleeper in the back of the holiday catalog, I do believe right before or after the Regal Winter. And this bloom, to me, just mimicked beautifully the bloom that's in that Regal Winter DSP. Such pretty colors in there. You've got your cherry cobbler. So this is all year round, even though the richness of the cherry cobbler, I think, just reminds me of Christmas and the regalness of that. Look at the beautiful, deep, rich colors in that. And you've got wild wheat in there and just a lot of different floral patterns in there. So I decided to, on the front of the card, use some of the floral and then use the floral on the inside to give that pop wow there. So I'm going to show you how to make this card. Okay, so I will admit I made this card and then I went to put this folding mechanism inside it and I had it turned it the wrong way and I got all confused, so I stopped my video. So I'm just going to tell you what I did on this card. So I think you can tell that this was an 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. And I wanted to get this circle cut out, but the first thing I had to do was put my DSP on the card. Okay, so let's pretend you don't see the circle cut. Okay, so I put, this was a 2-inch piece here. 2-inch high by 4, and this piece was 3. Now when you cut in 2s and 3s on your DSP, you get a lot better number of pieces out of a 12 by 12. So, but I needed it to be 5 1/4, so I just added in a little strip, a 1/4-inch strip there. I just turned this one over, put that little strip in between the two DSPs, taped it, and then I ran it through my Big Shot while it was open, like this, ran it through. This popped out, and if you were on my blog last week, you would see that I used this piece on this pretty card here. So I used that piece there. So then you have this piece that popped out of there. Now you'll notice this piece is beautifully unmarred, okay? And it is, we're gonna set that one aside. We're gonna be using that for the circle flip on here. So in order not to get any glue on there, because you're going to be putting a circle bloom on there, make sure when you're gluing down your DSP that you just put your glue around the edges and a little bit down here and a little bit here. You don't want any glue to be where your die is going to cut it out, because if the glue is there, this is what happened on my other card. You can see it has some glue on there, so it's kind of unusable for this card, but I'll just use it to cut out another, card, as make it smaller. But just make sure when you're putting it on there, so think of it as this way. You had, again, I hope you can see this, I just didn't want to recut everything and do it, but this was, before you cut the circle out, it was just two pieces of DSP with a 1/4-inch in between, so that it was 2 inches, a 1/4-inch, and 3 inches, which made 5 1/4, okay? Then we just cut it out with the card being open, ran it through. We ended up with these 2 pieces, saved this one for another card, and this we're gonna use on this card. Okay, so the fun part of this is this mechanism here. Now this mechanism is 8 inches, so you're gonna cut off a 1/2 inch of your 8.5, and then it's 5 1/4 because this is 5 1/2, and you want an 1/8 and an 1/8 of inch on both sides. So you're going to score this at 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6. 2 1/2, 4 1/2, and 6. Okay. Now when it goes into the card, though, the 2 1/2 inch part is over on this side here, so that it folds like this, okay? So these are going to be the 2 pieces right here in the middle that get the DSP. So this first one is 1 1/2, I do believe. Let's look and see here. Let's make sure our measurements are right. Yeah, that's 1 1/2. So our DSP is going to be 1 1/4 wide. And then this one is 2 inches, so it's going to be 1 3/4. So if you take 1 1/4 and 1 3/4, you get 3. So I started out my DSP being 3 inches. Okay, it was 3 inches, and it was 5 inches tall because this is 5 1/4. You had to go in another 1/8 of an inch on both sides. So I started off with a 3-inch piece, and then you're going to get 4 across and 2 down. So you're going to get 8 of those 3 by 5 1/4 pieces out of a 12 by 12 DSP. And then the 1 1/4 goes in this slot, and the 1 3/4 goes in that slot. And you do want to kind of, I have to tell you, secret here, these I did not match up, but you can't tell. You just look at there and you see all the flowers, but because I cut them the other way, 1 3/4 and left 1 1/4 off, but you kind of want to do it so that they match up. It does look nice, but if you don't do it, yeah, nobody's gonna know. I know sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. So we're gonna go ahead and put those two, just think of all the different stamp sets that you have that you could do one of these cards with. Okay, make sure I went to all the trouble to cut it in the right direction, make sure I put it on the right way. Okay, so now that we see that, remember, this is your 2 1/2 inch side over here, okay? But when you scored it, you went 2 1/2, 4 1/2, 6. But you turn it this way, and then you get your 2 1/2 is here. Okay, so let's make sure this is all flat and glued down. Okay, now when you go to adhere this, okay, we're gonna go ahead, we can adhere this 2 1/2 section. I'm just going around the edge. Woo, I'm not used to having brand new glue. Okay, so I'm gonna put this right with the 1/8 of an inch the whole way around the top, bottom, and the right side, okay? So right there is the first part there. Now we're gonna go ahead and leave it open and do our stamping, okay? This is such a beautiful stamp set. I think I'm more excited to show you the stamp set than I am. No, I'm excited for both. But this is a beautiful, there is hope. There is hope. And this sentiment is so beautiful. It says, I think the sentiment on the front, sharing love and strength this season. For those who are spending their holiday without somebody that they're missing terribly. This will be the second Christmas without my mom, and it is sad. There is hope. It's okay if all you did today was breathe. Think about the times that you have gone through grief or are going through grief or going through a stressful time, and you feel like, wow, the only thing I did today was breathe, and that's okay. I love that sentiment. I think it is I think they just really came out with a very appropriate sentiment for just when you just don't know what to say or even to explain how you're feeling. It's okay if all you did was breathe today. It's okay if all you did today was breathe. And so this one here, I colored in the berries a little bit, but they kind of look a little funny. I'm gonna play around with that and see if I like that. But I used the bloom that's in here, and I do love this too. You matter, even when your brain tells you otherwise. I mean, how many times are we in those situations where we're just down on ourselves or just not feeling like we matter sometimes, but just remember you do matter, because the Lord loves each and every one of us, and you do matter. No matter what is going on in your life, he cares about you. Jesus is there. All we have to do is reach out to him, and he is right there for us. So we're going to now adhere that bottom portion. So if you think of it this way, we have this accordion here. We have this back panel. We're going to fold down one of the DSPs. We're only going to see one of them, and then this is going to be flat. Now this is going to close in on the white, and then we're going to be adhering our circle to here. But what little trick I did so that I didn't end up putting glue where I shouldn't is just draw yourself a light pencil mark. So now you know where the glue should not be, okay? Especially because I've got this new glue out here. So we're going to put some glue And notice I'm not catching where that circle, half circle that and then I can, oh wait, before I do that, duh, you wanna then erase your pencil mark there. Get that out of there. Get that gum eraser out of there. Okay, so now we can adhere that down, and we're just going to press that for a second just to make sure it's adhered well, because that's the part that is going to pop up when you flip the circle flip card. Okay, now the other place, you can see how that's going to be. Okay, and you'll know you did it right if you have the short, the longer, and then the back. Okay, so now we're just going to put some glue on here. Okay, and that is where we're going to put our cherry cobbler circle. Now, you may find when you die cut this, so you have a little bit of a ridge where that, across where this was, just line up the ridges if you do. I don't think you're going to notice it here on this one, because you can notice on here, do you see that little ridge on this one? So if I was putting this, I would just line that ridge up right here. And that was just because of the layering of the paper when it went through the die cutting machine. It kind of impressed it a bit. Okay, and now we did it correctly. Okay, now when I was looking at this bloom, I did play around with coloring it, colored it cherry cobbler light, cherry cobbler dark, and then I was just getting really frustrated with, and then I realized it's a white bloom with the wild wheat. So then I just took and I just put some of that wild wheat on the sketch lines on the white bloom. And I just put it on the sketch lines, and it did all the color, and it was just the right amount of coloring on there for it. And so then I took and used some of this rustic, wild wheat rustic ribbon, and I put it on the, I'm just going to use some tape because it's handy here. I'm just going to tape that coming off of that flip card there, just to add some embellishment there. And then I popped up my bloom that's on the cherry cobbler. Isn't this a fun flip card? I just love this design here. I hadn't done one of these in a long time. And so here we go. And then I just put the bloom right there in the middle. And then I used my other dies. They are called the Wild Fern dies. I actually don't have the stamp set, but I love the dies. And there's a nice rectangle in there that's stitched, and that had the sharing love and strength. So then I just put that on the, right across the flower. So if it didn't look so stark, I mean, I don't know. I should see, does it look better here or on there? Yeah, maybe I'll put this one down here. Two different ways to do that. Okay, then I used, I can't even remember if these are current or not, but these were our in color sparkle dots, opaque sparkle dots of the in colors that will be leaving us, wild wheat. And I'm going to put, then I'll just put a few of the wild wheat. Let's see, there. And the rule of 3 is we need to put another one. But then I just sometimes don't know where. 3, maybe here, maybe 2 down here. Where does that third one always need to go? Let me see. I don't, maybe I'll put 2 down here and I'll move this one. But then usually when I want to move that one, it sticks and I can't get it. Okay, so 2 down there and maybe 1 up here. There we go. Ha! I like to keep 2 of them together. Okay, so you on this one I put that sentiment down there. Circle flip. Was that easy or what? Let me put this aside. quick review. We just used a half sheet. We scored 8.5 at 4 1/4, and we just got your basic book opening A2 size card, right? Then this folding mechanism was 8 inches wide, and we scored it at 2.5, 4.5, and 6. Then we flipped it around so the 2.5 inch side was here, and then we put DSP on these two panels in the middle, because the two end panels are where we adhered to the cardstock, right? The 2.5 here and the other side here. This smaller one was 1 1/4 wide. This one was 1 3/4 wide, and they're 5 inches tall. Our white was 5 1/4, so that we just had a 1/8 inch border around there. That was our folding mechanism. Before we folded it all up, the front of our card, we put the DSP on the front, and it was 2 inches, 3 inches tall. Both of them were 4 inches wide. And then we just put this one right in the middle so that we could splice it together and get 5 1/4. We opened up the card, we put the circle on the front, and we die cut that. And then the part that fell off, we used for the circle to be in the inside there. So we really used all the pieces there. Just to make sure whenever you are putting this card together, that before you cut that circle, when the card is open and you run it through, make sure that you don't have any glue in that middle part. So just do your line right around the edges and a little bit here and a little here, but be very careful about getting any glue around where that circle is going to be, because you want this circle to have no glue on it without any, to mar up the side there. So is that the cutest or what? So you could either put your Love and Strength on the bloom, or you could put it on around the bloom. I use shaded spruce for my leaves, and then some wild wheat on my bloom. Notice this is stamped a little blacker, and this one I think I used a different ink pad and it wasn't as dark. But isn't that fun? You can get a lot of cards when you're using just small strips of your DSP. It travels, it goes a lot farther for you. So take a look at that Love and Strength. And like I said, I think that this stamp set with this bloom here, I think that it pairs better than the Regal, I think it's Regal Flora. I think the stamp set that goes with this DSP and the bundle, I think that actually this bloom goes better with this paper. It really looks like it goes with it. So I was pleased with that. And then, like I said, you can make another card out of that with that piece that falls out. Because remember, this is what fell out after you cut it out. So I hope you give that the Circle Flip Fun Fold card a try. And again, Regal Winter Paper and the Love and Strength. Great sentiments there. I love that stamp set. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call at 724-323-2296, or you can text me. If you make one of these, I love to see other people's ideas, other stamp sets they use. And you could use a square in here as well, or a rectangle. Anything that you cut out that'll fit right back in there would be great on a flip card. It's the fun mechanism on the inside that's really cool. Thanks for spending some time with me, and buzzing by, friends.